All right, so Mello and I today decided to go and get my first pet, and you guys are seeing him right now. So I didn't know that you're supposed to buy the aquarium before you buy the beta, and so I bought it, and now I'm having to like set it up, and right now I'm currently waiting for the water conditioner to affect the water so I can put him in his tank. So this is probably what you guys are going to see in the background of my videos from now on because I know a lot of you are getting tired of seeing the same static pictures. At least this way you guys have something that's moving in the background. Anyhow, with that said, I got this comment today. Currently underemployed with the possibility of no work next week. In the past, I've been 33, 34-year-old checkout operator amongst younger workers. I'm psyching myself up for doing similar as a 47-year-old going on 48. So I was going to write him back that I thought that the average cashier was around 35. I just got back from Walmart where I bought the water conditioner thing for the tank. And I mean, I was looking around in there and the minimum wage workers, they're not young anymore. Like when I was working at Walmart a few years ago, I was the oldest person that worked in that store. And I could feel my age working among people who, like myself, had just graduated from college in 2017. And so I started writing this comment, right? And because I thought that the average age was 35, it's actually 40. And I thought to myself, oh my God, this would make an amazing video. So I put that comment into ChatGPT. I asked it to generate the script, and here we are in the opening monologue. I'm 25. I'm broke. I work retail. I live paycheck to paycheck, barely covering rent, skipping meals, straight up rationing toothpaste like it was 1942. And I work with people who've been in this exact job for 10, 15, 20 years. No promotion, no raise worth mentioning, just survival. One of my coworkers is 43, divorced, two kids, has been at this store longer than I've been alive. And you know what she told me? I was going to quit after a year, but the bills kept coming and no one else was hiring. That's the reality. You don't choose retail at work at 40. You're surviving in it. That's exactly how I feel at my current job. After being there for just 3 days, I realized there's no way I can be here. But unfortunately, when you're on the verge of eviction and being homeless, it kind of lets you know that you need to stay at a job you don't like. It's survival. No one goes to Pound Town because they want to go to work. Most of us have to make the decision on whether or not we're going to be poor working or we're going to be even more poor or poorer while you're not working, right? So it's a choice. Either way, you're going to be poor. It's just how poor are you going to be? Are you going to be skipping meals poor or are you going to be living under a bridge poor? Because the Epic Economist, if you guys haven't watched this latest video, it scared the crap out of me. And I know that's the intention of his videos, but I believe it is 60 to 70% of Americans right now are living paycheck to paycheck with no money whatsoever in case of an emergency, which includes myself. And I'm one paycheck away always from living on the street. I'm not doing great. I definitely see myself as being a person who's always on the verge of not being able to pay their bills. I mean, this beta fish was the saddest pet that you can get. I mean, it's literally a can of tuna. So when Ella and I were driving back, she had me get a an aquarium plant, and she had the fish in her lap, and she's like, "Look at this fish. He's getting a great view." And I was like, "Look, it's the fish looking at the fish." It was a funny moment. You had to be there to enjoy it. But I wouldn't have done this if Mello hadn't been with me. I've been wanting to buy a fish. Like I haven't owned a pet or a fish, which is not exactly a pet. I think fish are more of a decoration than a pet because you can't interact with them. I mean, at least you shouldn't. You shouldn't pet your pet fish. I don't think he would appreciate that. But at the same time, this is this is one of those things. Like I about 2 months ago, when I moved out of the Roach Motel, I started collecting plants because I finally had a little bit of space, so it wasn't just my bed and my desk and the toilet. Right now, I actually have a place to put things. So now I have planters, I have a TV, I have a coffee table, thanks to Mello. I have a couch, and I have rugs. And I've never been able to do that. But at the same time, I don't make enough money to like Mello just got back on Monday from a vacation. And that's something that I've never experienced in my life. I think Mello has to go back to work on Monday, but she's been on a 2 week vacation, and both weekends she actually went somewhere. She told me how much she spent, and it frightened the hell out of me because that's a lot of money. But she spent that much money to enjoy herself. I will never experience that. In fact, we were eating a Korean barbecue today, and I was sitting there looking at the menu, and I'm like, oh my god, this is outrageous. But then you walk over to the grocery store, and even I think the Arrowhead gallon water is like $3 now. That's tripled in cost in just a few years. But with that said, let's get into our first talking point. Let's talk numbers. The average age of a US retail worker in 2025 is 40 years old. Not 18, not 22, not 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 22, 40. Why? Because the economy collapsed on us slowly. College costs too much, degrees worthless than minimum wage, entry level jobs requiring 5 years of experience, and a LinkedIn profile that looks like a Forbes 30 under 30 article. So people took what they could, Walmart, Target, Dollar Tree, thinking it was temporary. But when every other job rejects you and rent keeps rising, temps turn into forever. This is actually something I talked to the school president about yesterday. He's like, Millennial Steam, you need to go somewhere where they're going to pay you a real amount of money. And I was like, and then he asked me, it's like, are you on LinkedIn? And I'm like, are you on LinkedIn? And he's like, yeah, I'm always looking for a better job. And that's kind of something that I've realized with this company is that everyone's always looking for a better job. Right down to the leadership, the top position at the office is point blank with me. It's like, hey, we should be friends on LinkedIn. And I'm like, what? LinkedIn is just Facebook with resumes. But it was a strange conversation to have. And I was just like, kind of like looking at him like, this guy makes 150 to $200,000 a year, and he still acts like he's living paycheck to paycheck. When you're making that much money and you're still having a discussion about how you can't afford things with adult children living in the house, like things are rough out there, people. Talking point number two. You ever notice how they sell these jobs to us with words like flexibility and opportunity? Flexibility just means they own your schedule. Can you close tonight? Can you open tomorrow? Can you stay late? Someone called out. You can you can't plan your life. You can't go back to school. You can't get another job. You're too tired, too broke. So you stay. Not because it's a career, but because you're too exhausted to climb out. That's exactly how I felt when I was at Walmart. It wasn't until the store went out of business and I had months to just dedicate to looking for work. Because looking for work, if you've never been out of work for an extended period of time, looking for work is a job in and of itself. Because it took me 3 years before I could get my current job. And the reason for that was no one was hiring. For the skill set that I had and the education that I had, no one was hiring. And so you had to stay in those awful, awful minimum wage jobs. And then you get to something that's supposed to be a little better. And guess what? It's really not that much better. It's just a different kind. Like yesterday, I'm not sure if I put this video up. I may have put it up in the morning, but I was working on a video in which I talked about being your own slave. It used to be that a slave got food and shelter, maybe a little bit of time off. But these days, you can be working as much as you can for as little as humanly possible. And it is entirely possible that you are working and you're not getting ahead. You don't own your own home. You're driving a 20-year-old car. You're desperately lonely because no one wants to date broke. If there's one thing that poor people should never do, is never make a retail baby. When I worked at Walmart, they were called Walmart families. When I worked at Kroger's, they were called Kroger families. And this is two proles that meet at minimum wage jobs and for some reason decide that they want to create, or decide is a very, very questionable term here. They accidentally get pregnant with a prole child and she wants to keep it. And he asks her this simple question: we can't afford to feed ourselves. How are we going to have a child? And we know that proles don't think about the future. My mom wasn't thinking when I was conceived. I'll tell you that 100%. She wasn't thinking about my well being at all. I mean, when you have children and you yourself are a teenage mother, when you have children at age 15, you're not taking into consideration what the life of that child's going to be like. You just think it's, oh, it's a blessing. No, it's not. Children aren't blessing, they're a responsibility. That's what children are. Unless you have a great job, you shouldn't even be thinking about having children. In fact, I just ran into the gas station girl. I hadn't seen her since January because she told me she had 10 kids the last time. 10 kids, and her kids were the reason why she was so happy. Those were her exact words. Today I saw her again and she was smiling from ear to ear because she was on maternity leave after having her 11th child. I didn't even realize she was pregnant. But while not being pregnant, I mean, the last time I saw her, she looked healthy, weight. This time she looked as thin as a rail. She had that mess body going on. And I was like, oh my God. And then when I looked at her, it's like, weren't you, you know, very pregnant the last time I saw you? And she said, yes, I was. And I'm like, you could barely tell. Like comparatively to now, it's night and day. It's like two different people. But the face, it's that perfect prole happy smile of working at a gas station while having 11 children. I mean, a person just doesn't normally throw that fact out unless they're very proud of it. And she's very, very proud of having all of those children. I'm sure her husband is, well, let's face it, people. She's working at a gas station. She's probably not married. But she's got all them kids. God, I can only imagine how much food stamp money she must get for having that many children. Because when you work in retail, you get to see the balances on their food stamp cards, and some of these totals are just enormous. But with that said, let's get into my final talking point. People love to say retail workers are lazy. Nah. Have you ever worked an 8-hour shift with no AC, customers screaming at you, managers breathing down your neck, and your feet screaming by hour 4? That's not lazy. That's warfare. The truth is, the system doesn't want you to succeed. It wants you tired, grateful, and replaceable. Promotions, fake. Raises, insulting. Benefits, if you're lucky. And by the time you're 40, you're not even young and energetic anymore. You're just expensive to insure. Jesus. And I'll tell you guys, it is very true that sometimes you do have to work without AC. When I was working at Walmart, there was a couple of summers where the AC wasn't working and the building owners didn't want to have to pay to replace the very expensive air conditioning units. It was so hot inside of that store that the chocolate was melting on the shelves. And yet workers were expected to keep slaving, right? Keep working because the work in a place like that never stops. From the moment you walk into a retail place till the moment you leave, you're on your feet and you're working. It is truly the modern day plantation because the overseer is always watching to see what you're doing. And if you're not making money for them, you're costing them money. So this section is new that ChatGPT included. So it says personal story interlude. Let's see what this is. Last week, my coworker cried in the break room. She said her rent went up again. Her kids need braces, and all she got this year was 30-cent raise. 30 cents. That's 12 more per paycheck before taxes. She laughed while crying and said, "At this point, I'm just surviving for my kids. I gave up on myself a long time ago." That's what this job does. It breaks you slowly, but politely, with a name tag and a company t shirt. Well, I was walking through Walmart about an hour ago. There was a girl, a merchandiser, who I passed by. And she had a duster, right? So she was there working on the sunscreen. She was dusting the sunscreen bottles and she had a company t shirt. I think the company was like Tropicana or some name brand that I don't use sunscreen. I'm a brown person. I don't need it. So I saw her and she was just like sitting there and just like dusting it like she was in her own home, like in her own little world. So she organized the display and then she was just like dusting it, like nothing else around her. She had tuned out to the point where she normalized it. And more that I talked to Mello about her job in a similar field to this, the more she wants to get out of it because I believe in about a month and a half, she's going to turn a year old working in this job. And she knows she's too old to be working in this job. And so she wants a better job. Well, not a better job in the sense that, oh, she wants to climb the corporate ladder. She just doesn't want to have to work as hard as she does. Like she's lost a lot of weight by sheer workout labor. She's not losing weight because she wants to. She's losing it because the job is shrinking her. If you guys have ever met a person who was heavy and then they started working at an Amazon warehouse, walking 10 to 15 miles every single day, that will shrink down any human being. It's the equivalent of being put into a camp and they work you right down till there's no more power inside of that battery. That's what they do to you. And there's very little that you can do if this is the situation you find yourself in, because these jobs aren't designed to get better with age. They're just supposed to break you. They're supposed to make you not want to do that job. Like the other day, one of my work friends, and I think she's mad at me right now. I really, she didn't speak to me at all yesterday, and we talk every single day. But she's so proud of what she does, right? So for the first time in her entire life, she got to see the actual faces of the people that she works with. And her first reaction to seeing the faces of the people that she works with was instantly, the second they came on, her first reaction was to take her cell phone, take a picture of the screen, send it to me, and ask Millennial Steam, why do they all look like this? And I wrote her back, and it's like, this is not an ideal job. You may like your job, but the people that are behind those cameras do not. They are people whose job it is to sell. And when you have a job like that, because my acquaintance, the one that got fired from a sales job a year ago and is still currently unemployed. And this is something I talked to the school president about. And you know what he told me yesterday was that those people like her, they don't want to work. There's plenty of work out there. They just don't want to work. And Mello was telling me about some raids that happened right down the street from my house yesterday. And she's like, well, if they're opening up all of these jobs because they're deporting all of these people, these thousands and thousands of people, shouldn't ordinary Americans pick up the slack and go work in the kitchen, work cleaning the pools, work cleaning the hotels, work the farm jobs, work the meat packing? And that's where we don't hear it. This is something that I don't get. They know where those people work. They work where there's no white people. They work in the jobs that pay the least amount of money and that are the hardest to do in our society. But why aren't they at the Tyson chicken plant? No, they're raiding bars down the street, looking for that one or two. There are places that are strongholds, and somehow they're avoiding those types of places. Why? Well, it's hard to find people to do those jobs. And yet, I think it was I think it was one of the guys I work with. I was talking to him the other day, and he mentioned that he had like a consuelo, right? A lady that comes and cleans your house a couple times a week, doesn't speak a lick of English, and one day she just vanished and was never seen again. We all know what happened to Consuelo, right? My mom was Consuelo. My mom was the cleaning lady my entire life. My mom never learned to do anything that was remotely considered white collar, right? She cleaned toilets from the second she entered the job market, and I'm willing to bet if she's still alive somewhere out there in the world, she's still cleaning toilets. Because people like that, they don't come to America to take as Mello said, and to quote Mello, the immigrants aren't here to be CEOs. That was an exact quote from something she said today when we were driving back from the fish store. It was hilarious the way she said it too. But yeah, with that said, let's get into our closing rant because we just hit the 23-minute mark. If you're young and watching this, don't you dare think this job will eventually get better. It won't. Not unless you fight to get out early. And if you're older, I see you. I work with you. I didn't fail. The system failed you. And it keeps failing all of us every damn day. Retail isn't a job anymore. It's a holding cell for the people the economy doesn't know what to do with. And until we start talking about that, nothing changes. Retail doesn't chew you up all at once. It nibbles year after year until you wake up at 45 and realize you traded your life for a 15-minute break and 10% off expired peanut butter. Ooh, that hurts. That was tough, ChatGPT. But I feel it. I spent my whole life working crappy jobs that no one really likes. I mean, look at the turnover in my area. I mean, person after person after person, management worker. You turn 3.5 years and you've seen so much. I mean, and it's not hard to see why. A lot of people aren't nearly as desperate for work as I am. I mean, if I've stayed at crappy minimum wage jobs, if I stayed working a job for 20 years that didn't offer health benefits, had no paid holidays, was never going to rise above minimum wage, you think I stayed there because I wanted to? No, I stayed there because I had to. And that's how we're all kind of in the same jail cell. The people around us at work, they're the other inmates. We can't leave. We need that financial straw feeding into our cage every day. No matter what you do in life, you need money. and you need to generate money because people like us, we don't have passive income. We don't have rental properties. We don't have retail investments. We don't have stock. We don't have anything other than that little straw that's piping life into our cell. And that's all I'm going to say today. I hope you guys had a great Juneteenth whenever you're watching this. And let me know if you guys enjoyed watching the fish rather than looking at those static images of those dead AI eyeballs.